for people to come into. They're just going to be inviting themselves onto the platform. We are at 53 guests that are attending tonight so far. Let's go ahead and get started at 54 attendees, and people will continue to file in at their leisure. So, greetings and welcome to tonight's listening session titled Redmond, Conversation Toward Inclusion and Belonging. Our goal tonight is to engage with you, those folks who live and work and play in the city of Redmond. We want to make sure that tonight we created space for those of you who want to be heard. We want to have you be able to offer your stories. We want for you to be able to share feedback. And most important, we want you to be able to influence decision-making of the council. And we want to, at the end of the day, be able to create a community that works for everyone across all of the city of Redmond. And so my name is Chanin Kelly-Rae. I am your facilitator and guide tonight. Your hosts, though, are the City of Redmond and the City of Redmond City Council. That would be Council President Pavier, Council Vice President Anderson, Council Member Carson, Council Member Fields, Council Member Forsyth, Council Member Khan, and Council Member Kritzer. So thank you so much for joining us. We are at 58 attendees. I think that's probably great attendance for a council meeting. I'm extremely happy that we're able to create a platform that allows for folks to jump on board and to participate. I wanted to cover just a couple of ground rules, and that is that first of all, by participating in this conversation, you acknowledge and accept that this session is being both broadcast and it's being recorded for public availability. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to share their feedback and offer insight to the council, and comments should be both civil and respectful. And so at the point that comments are not civil and respectful, I will silence your microphone, and then your comments will end and we'll move on to the next participant. So if you want to speak, all you have to do is raise your hand to be acknowledged, and we'll go from there. And so I know that there's lots of people. We're at 60 people right now that are attending to participate. And so all you have to do again is raise your hand and I will bring you live, or all you have to do is jump in the chat box and acknowledge that you have a question or a comment or feedback, but that you would like to be acknowledged to go live. And I will go through to make sure that you have 2 minutes on the clock to be able to address the council. And so you should have also, when you registered, got a link to a questionnaire and survey that gave you some questions, at least on a high level, of what we wanted to be able to cover. But you are not compelled to make statements or offer insights or comments based on those questions. You will have 2 minutes to share whatever feedback, insight, or talk about priorities for the council that you'd like to share. And the 2 minutes will effectively be yours. At the end, I'll before we leave at 5:30 this evening, I'll give you kind of a wrap up of what next steps will be. So I'll take about the last 3 or 4 minutes for that. And then we will end our session and conversation tonight. And again, the council members will not be answering questions. Council members will not be engaging with the public, so they will not be speaking. They are here to listen, to hear from you, to hear what it is that you think they should be focusing on, to talk about what you think they should be doing in terms of budget and prioritization and elevating issues of concern to you for them as council members, representing your voice, your interests in the community as a whole. And again, for people who live in the city of Redmond, for people who work in the city of Redmond, and for people who recreate and visit the city of Redmond. And so with that, let's jump right in and allow for people to raise their hands to participate. Is there anyone that would like to address the council? If you raise your hand, I will unmute your mic and you will be allowed to speak. All right, Joy Randall, you are live.
Hi there. Thank you for this opportunity. Really appreciate it. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Well, I've been a resident here since '05, and as probably all of you know, as there's been such immense growth in this city, and I've really, I think overall appreciated just living here in Redmond, starting a family, and have felt overall it's been a very safe place. And I am a Filipino. I was born in the Philippines, but I grew up in the States. And so I did move here from growing up in Michigan for more diversity. And I have to say I did find that living here, but I think the one thing that is missing is I guess not just the focus on diversity, but just the whole belonging and that acknowledgement of not just how many people of different backgrounds and different people of color are here, but true, I guess a true integration of our differences and understanding. So I wanted to say that I support the East Side Change Coalition, and I think that all of you have probably received the demands that they did submit just this week at the budget hearing, and I did send in an email that I support them. I've been lucky enough to have the opportunity to listen in to some of their talks where they've met with Kirkland officials, and they have met with the Redmond mayor as well as Chief Lowe. And so I really would love the council to work really hard on really, I guess, honoring their demands, because I truly believe in their demands. And I would like to hear, when possible, what the council members feel about those demands.
Thank you so much, Joy. You're at time. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? Please raise your hand and I will unmute your mic and allow you to address the council. Some of those questions that went out to the community were the following. What historic challenges related to race and ethnicity have existed in the Redmond community that have impacted your experience? What are the current critical issues impacting the racial and ethnic climate of Redmond? What could and or should be considered as the council begins to prioritize goals for the city of Redmond related to increasing our climate of inclusion and belonging? How would you like to be engaged in the future as the Redmond City Council considers ways to improve their relationship with all of the city? Trey, you are live.
Hey, thank you. I'm actually one of the chairs of the East Side Change Coalition, and I wanted to open up the floor to some of my other team members to just kind of voice and reiterate some of the demands that we have sent to the city council. An overarching kind of unspoken demand of our document is we would really like to be able to meet with the council and have further dialogue about how we can address the needs of East Side Change Coalition and everyone who we represent. That's of course not explicitly stated in our demand document, but one very important aspect of us presenting our demands is us being able to engage in dialogue with you all in the future. There are specifics in the demand document. I won't get too into the specifics because I only have 2 minutes right now. I'm hoping you have all seen the document. I think that the way that we have phrased the demands and the way that we've put research and thought and effort into demands has a lot to do with who are the most vulnerable and most marginalized demographics in Redmond, and how can we best help them. Of course, that's kind of the basis. And of course, our demands are only a start. They're not comprehensive of everything that Redmond needs to change in regards to diversity, equity, inclusion, but we think it's a step in the right direction. Just as a baton pass, I'll let any of my other team members who want to just talk a little bit more about their demand that they included in the demand document, just so that the council members who are here today can hear firsthand what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Trey. And next, we're going to go to Nathan Apfel. Nathan, you're live.
Hi, so yes, I am also working in that demands team, and I would like to talk a little bit about the diversity, equity, and inclusion program manager demand that we have. We really would like to stress that it is incredibly important, we believe, for you guys to approve that new position. We talked with the leader of the Seattle Office of Civil Rights, Mariko Lockhart, and she expressed to us that the thing that she thought was most important was getting that program off the ground. She thinks that if we can do that, then the city's diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts will be much more effective in the future. But she also really wanted us to express that that position needs to be filled by someone who really does have authentic work experience, authentic being the key word there. So someone who has done this before, someone who has shown results, and we think that will be best achieved if that hiring process is something that is more transparent and that we can get community involvement. I think that's really all I have to add to my demand, all I have to really say about my demand in specific, because you guys can all go and read the rest of it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who would like to raise their hand and address the council? Again, this is, oh, here we go. Debbie Lacy, you're live.
Thank you. I am Debbie Lacy, and I'm speaking as a nonprofit community partner who's worked with the City of Redmond for almost 20 years, first with the Eastside Refugee and Immigrant Coalition, and now with Eastside for All. And it's great to have this opportunity. Thank you very much. And I want to share that one of the things that I've seen consistently is an aversion in the City of Redmond to talking about race and racism. We love diversity, we love inclusion, we love welcoming, but only speaking about those things is problematic because we can't actually advance true equity and inclusion if we aren't actively acknowledging and addressing the local realities of racism and Islamophobia here in Redmond. Unfortunately, these are a part of Redmond, as they are a part of every community in this country. Avoiding it doesn't make it go away. In fact, it makes it less likely that we'll realize our hopes for an inclusive and welcoming community. We look to city leadership to be courageous about leaning into the real work, rolling up your sleeves, having those hard conversations. And it's really important to build that from the inside out, starting with your organizational culture. So I'm putting a pitch in for strong investment and consistent investment in regular training for council, for all staff, for commissioners, and to establish an equity process and lens for how commissioners come to be on board. Together, you're so responsible for very important decisions, and those decisions should be made using equity frameworks. When you do get to the point of hiring staff focused on diversity and equity work, and I hope you will do that, it's again important that you frame that work not only with that broad language of diversity inclusion, but to name the specific tasks related to anti-racism and disrupting patterns that can and do create inequities. Lastly, please heed the recommendations of demands of local community leaders. We've heard from Eastside Change Coalition, We know that the Right to Breathe Committee and Maps Amen have also been instrumental in providing some important feedback to the city, and we hope that you will honor that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your comment. Janet Richards.
Hello, thank you for hosting this, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I have met many of you. I am a Human Services Commissioner, and I'm also involved in some other efforts. So I've ran across several of you in those capacity. I want to talk a little bit around the topic of inclusion, belonging, and intersectionality. And I've specifically have seen this in my work on the Human Services Commission. A lot of times when we think about these topics, we think about race and we think about ethnicity. However, if you consider these topics with the intersection of some other areas, being a single mother, being a youth, being homeless, being unemployed or working class, being elderly or being disabled, this is a particularly difficult community. And that is what sometimes makes this conversation challenging. Because you could look at a particular example that doesn't have some of those intersectionalities and say, well, this race or this ethnicity is doing fine. We don't have a racial problem. We don't have a diversity problem. But when you intersect, and the problem becomes, in certain communities, you have greater numbers of these intersections. You have greater numbers of people who are working class, a greater number of mental illness problems in the youth, and single mothers is another. And I've seen some of the data in our community. For instance, if you're a single mother, that factor alone increases exponentially the chance that you are in poverty. And so I just want to raise that because it requires innovative solutions. You can't just check a box and solve it. And so I look forward to working with you on coming up with some of those solutions in the future.
Thank you, Janet. Anyone else? Let me also make sure that I call out the fact that there are comments in the chat box that people would like to have a link to Eastside Change Coalition demand documents. So if anyone representing that organization has a link to your site or a link to that information, you are welcome to share that link in the chat box. But also, if you don't mind, please forward that information to the council, and we can make sure that that information is made available. Sujatha Ramni, you are live. And please forgive me if I not pronounced your name well.
No, that's quite all right. Thank you so much for listening to me. Good afternoon to the council. I am Redmond. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry. I am a Redmond resident from the South Asian community, and I resonated significantly with what one of the prior callers, Lacy, spoke, and I would like to add some context, focusing more in the South Asian community in Redmond. We are a large growing community in the city of Redmond, and we carry a lot of complexities of South Asian society that we bring here. And we saw several aspects of that play itself out in the month of August when the community mobilized to have a resolution passed in the city council to condemn Islamophobia because of rising ethno-communal, religious, right-wing sentiments in the Indian American diaspora here in Seattle. The learnings from that, which I would love for the council to consider, are twofold. One is that we saw we saw this nature from the city council that discriminatory, complaints on discrimination and stuff like that was coming up to the council was not the council's job, that the council's job was to focus on budgets. So that again shows, a gap in terms of what the citizens need versus what the council was thinking it should be doing. And also the need for the council to really introspect, take the time to listen to the various communities, understand the realities, especially around marginalization of these complex societies, because we are a growing presence in this area. And, many of the things that Debbie mentioned are the things that I would check off and hope that the council, attempts to do, starting with, some deep introspective work on its part. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that would like to raise their hand to address the council? And again, if you would like to email the council, their email is council@redmond.gov. Council, that's COUNCIL@redmond.gov. And there is a link for the Eastside Change Coalition documents in the chat box. So that has been recorded. And again, this is an opportunity for you in the community to be able to raise your hand and address the council. So Darius, you are live.
Hello, my name is Darius. I am also a member of the Eastside Change Coalition and the Policy and Demands team. I met with the Redmond Police Department's Community Equity Action team last month, and it is clear that they want to ensure that all members of the Redmond community are heard. CETA understands that two of the main demographics that are not having their voices heard were the youth and those that have disabilities. And I just want to say that moving forward, I'm going to meet with an assist seat to engage members of those demographics in the Redmond community and help in any way that they need. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else who would like to raise their hand and share a comment, share feedback, share an insight, share an experience or your story? Nala, you have the floor.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I know some people who have worked on some committees and such, and I wanted to affirm that I think that the focus on like affordable housing as we go forward is really important, especially given that like downtown Redmond is full of apartments. It would be great to see like to build that sort of community and that more communal but diverse community would be to integrate some like affordable housing into those areas where there's a lot of apartments, because they're currently like the rent is very high in Redmond because it's a very nice area to live. So I just wanted to say that I think that that's a good place to put some of the budget in the future as we move forward. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nala. And Rose. Oh, hold on just a second, Rose. Wait, it's not for some reason. Hold on, give me 1 second. It's oh. Let me try and figure out how to come back to you, Rose. Anna, you're live.
Thanks, Kelly-Rae. I'm a Redmond resident, and I just wanted to mention in response to Nala's comment that for those who are interested in Redmond having more affordable housing, you can check out the website for Together Center and watch out for news coming soon, because they've well, they're going to be developing an exciting new project in the city for affordable housing, and I'm really excited about that. And I'm hoping that a lot more residents will find out about it and get behind it as the project begins in February next year. Thank you.
Thank you. For some reason, Rose, I think that you have an older version and it's not allowing me to unmute you for some reason. So I'm not sure of, yeah, it's saying that you're using an older version of Zoom and it's not allowing me to give you the opportunity to speak. Okay, yeah, so I'm so sorry. If there is anyone else that would like to address the council? Is there anyone else that would like to be able to speak, to share their insight, to share their story, to offer feedback, or to answer any of the questions that were prompts? What is the best way to be able to partner with you and the community? What are some ideas that you have outside of conversations like today to be able to share your story or experience? What might it look like for you to engage with the council in a way that is meaningful, that is deeply impactful, where there is mutual benefit for you, for the community, and for the council? How else would you like for the council to engage with you? What are some of the things that you think the council should also consider as they talk about budget? There you go, Rose, you are live.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Okay, now I'm on my phone, so this works. Okay, so I have some ideas. I've just looked over the demands of the East Side Change Coalition, and I think they're really brilliant. So I definitely support all of those. I'd say take a close look at them. I'd love to see those followed. So for me, coming in here, I was thinking that affordable housing is certainly the #1 issue that is of need. And I'll just disclose that I'm white. My children are, their dad is Native American and my kids are Native American. And I think that, so I kind of look at it through the lens of how they experience the culture in Redmond. And I think that, for me trying to support them being integrated and feeling at home, some of the things that have made them really feel comfortable are the open mic at Soul Food and the art displays at the Center for Mexican Culture. And those are pretty, Soul Food, you buy a cup of coffee and you feel like you can hang around. They're pretty much free. Especially the Center for Mexican Culture. I feel like those are just the diamonds for my children well, for all of us really, but specifically for folks who don't necessarily have a big budget for entertainment and being involved in culture and having a voice. I think that the summer art events at the town center, and I think it's called Derby Days, the art events, those kind of things are really, really important. One thing that I was frustrated about is that there's not much of a nightlife, dancing, music, this kind of a thing in Redmond. And I think that I've heard that there are prohibitions on this because of property values. And I don't think that the property values are the most important thing. I actually think that local culture is the most important thing. So I think that looking at some of that would be really good. The library, I think, is a cultural center for sure. All the meetings and things that happen there, they're free, they're meeting spaces and things. Supporting that would be really good. The last thing that I'll close with is that I don't know exactly how you would address this, but I just feel like it's important to give voice to it. That for my kids, there's I come from a working class family, and for my kids, I feel like one of the things that makes Redmond difficult is that there are manners that are to be followed in Redmond, because there's a lot of wealth there, and there's a certain personal style that comes across, and I think it makes my kids just shut down and want to run away. And so a personal style that isn't maybe so formal, and also that maybe just human beings showing more emotion, I think is something that would set them up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. James, you're live.
Hey everybody, this is James Terwilliger. I know most of you know me. I wanted to start out by saying that I am greatly proud of all of you and that I have the utmost sympathy for what you guys are all going through, dealing with a gigantic and unprecedented amount of things simultaneously between the pandemic and local racism and affordable housing and climate change, and having to do all of them at the same time. And I just want to say that's not going to be easy for anybody, and I appreciate that. I did have two quick comments. One is, I know we've been hearing a lot about community, and a lot of times when I'm watching council meetings, there is a sense that people are saying that they're stating that they are speaking for the community, but I don't think we have a monolithic community. We have a broad range of backgrounds, of positions, of opinions, and so forth. And so I would strongly encourage all of us to, instead of appealing to the authority of saying I'm speaking for the community, but to be clear about who you feel that you are speaking for and who you have been hearing from, so that there's a little bit more clarity in who is bringing their opinions and their beliefs to the table and so forth. I think that might help us in not taking the community for granted, especially when a lot of people will write in and we say, well, the community says, well, the community had 300 people saying this and 200 saying this. The community is not all one thing. And second, I would say that I think that we at the moment are a community, but we want to be more of one. I think we are thirsty for those opportunities to become more community oriented. I know I've spoken to a few of you about the possibility of looking into things like sister cities projects or anything that can encourage people to come together in spaces of any way, sort of that sort of thing. But just any way that we can promote community, I think will be to the benefit of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James. Lizette? Lizette?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. Yes, I'd like to speak to the council about more the youth of color. For those that are LGBTQ and are not always included in the conversations. Yes, recognized maybe once a year and acknowledged, but not always included on the conversations or accepted in consideration of their needs and support in the community. Many organizations may say they support LGBTQ and transgender, but I don't see the outreach and support or that demographic being named and supported in the conversations on an ongoing basis. And that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Lizette. Michaela?
Hi there. My name is Kelly-Rae. I'm just wanted to say a few things. I'm the co-founder of Eastside Embrace. I know that you were asking what kind of platforms there are to hear the voices of the community. Our grassroots does that. We amplify Black voices all through the East Side. I've had 3 public forums that everyone is invited to listen to these voices and hear what their problems are, from youth all the way to just the community altogether. And I think that if you wanted to attend and definitely hear these voices, you should. Yeah, and I can send a link to it. And we have our next one November 21st, if you guys are interested. We've had a few members of Redmond talk about schooling and racism in schooling and just how there isn't really much of a community, and we're just trying to build that community so they feel safe and comfortable to speak. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council? other questions that we wanted to be able to explore just as prompts, but you're not compelled to answer this is, what are some of those services, programs, or initiatives that you found could be improved or that you found very helpful, that have met your needs, or things that should be prioritized as the council moves forward to make budget decisions for the next budget cycle? What are some of those things that you think that the city could do better, that you think that the city is doing very well, that they should lean into, or things that the city has not currently done or considered that you think the city might consider to move in that direction? So again, because now we don't have a whole bunch of hands all up at the same time, if you'd like to jump in and speak again, if there's additional comments that you'd like to share, you are certainly welcome to raise your hand and to be able to speak again. So if there is more that you'd like to share, please take this opportunity now and then to raise your hand. You can be recognized and get another 2 minutes because this time is yours. And so I want to make sure we do that. In the chat box, is it possible to post those discussion questions in the chat box? We can certainly do that. And I'll do that, but right now I'm going to allow for Jennifer Charles to speak. So Jennifer, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to, as thinking about the budget, kind of reinforce one of the demands that I see as are listed by the Eastside Change Coalition group that I think is really important, and that's around a police mental health collaboration program. I know there is funding that's been made available to the Redmond Police to have a mental health professional on certain calls with them, and I believe that's been funded through grant programming. I think it would be really important to think about how to make that a sustainable program. I am the parent of an individual with a disability, and I have had many opportunities to try to advocate for better training and more resources to address the needs of individuals who may be struggling with mental illness or have a disability, and the resources are not necessarily readily available to best support those people in our community. So I would just really encourage you to think about funding that on an ongoing basis. I think that's a really important demand that those folks have brought forward, and I'm actually in agreement with everything that they have provided to you as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And next is Ngaya Swai. And again, I apologize if I've mispronounced.
Nope. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. My name is Ngaya. I'm another chair of the Eastside Change Coalition. And I just wanted to say that coming into this, I thought this was going to be more of a conversation, less than like us just talking to you guys and you guys listening. And so within that, we were hoping that we wanted to learn and like ask exactly how like things that we say are going to be acted upon and what ways we can kind of hold our council members accountable, because it's really important that like we've spoken a lot, we're saying a lot, and a lot of these things tie and connect to each other. Like I've heard a lot of similar things from many different people. And so we're asking to see like how we can see results, right? Personally, I don't really enjoy talking to like just a screen right now. I personally enjoy having a conversation, a nice back and forth. So I know that like this council member is in my corner, and I can feel confident that things will be changed. And so I guess this is me asking you guys a question of how can we hold you guys accountable? How can we see results? And what are you guys going to take out of this meeting, and how is it going to change things?
Let me remind the audience that the council members will not be addressing the audience today. This is an open forum and a listening session. The council is open to having that two-way conversation, that dialogue and feedback at a future council meeting. But for tonight, what we've hoped to do is create space so that the council isn't deliberating, the council isn't talking, the council wants to listen. They want to sit and hear from the community. So we want for you to be able to elevate your concerns. We want for you to be able to speak with passion and talk about what they should be doing and what they should be focusing on and leaning into. But you'll certainly get that feedback and that two-way conversation at future engagement. And so Carolina Nieto.
Yes, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I would like to share with you something that I have been thinking. It's our community it's rich because of its difference. We have different groups, we have different background, different nationalities, but we barely talk to each other. We barely value each other's difference. So I have been thinking in how I like the Seattle Center events, where you can see and talk, and you can even try food from their community, their groups, their kind of way of living. And if we can have more of that here, because I have seen few of them here, but if we can have more of that, and some of them that can be with more groups simultaneously, so we can even start making some connections with people that are different from our single groups. That opportunity to get in contact with people, not only by seeing them in the street or in the supermarket, but actually ask them and have their phone numbers or their what they like, things like that. Spaces and events that we can share. I know that the COVID situation is not very friendly with that type of events, but that is something that I have been thinking every time that I go to parks, to Marimur Park or the one in downtown. It's like, I would love to see booths of people from different communities sharing their own experiences in a very friendly, in a very informal setting, with their own arts and crafts and things like that. So if that is something that you can talk in the council, that's one idea. And I can give my information. I will be happy to work with you in doing this and making it happen. And thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Is there anyone else who would like to raise their hand to address the council? Harold, you're live.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. My name is Harold. I'm a recent resident of Redmond. I've only been here for about 2 years now. I just want to share something just recently that happened that kind of I found very offensive. A tweet by the Redmond official Twitter account on October 16th. It was attempted to be in the language of Arabic, a very, very common language spoken in the community of Redmond, and it was absolutely butchered. And you know, I am not a native Arabic speaker. I was an Arabic linguist in the Army. So it's a very passionate language for me. And to see it butchered and knowing how prevalently it's spoken in the community, just really kind of shows the disconnect between kind of what the city government's doing and, you know, what's going on. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your feedback. And let me go to Shama. Let me unmute you. All right, Shama, you are live.
Hi, this is Shama Farag. I'm affiliated with MAPS, Many Cultures, One Community. It's a program for diversity in MAPS. And also, I moved from Redmond a few years ago, but I still connected to Redmond. I feel it's like it's still my home. I am the most diverse person you could ever imagine. I do have a comment on including kids with disability. I love I love how the person who said it before, how they articulate this. I saw something in our school during the National Night. Might give you an idea how to address this. That in our school they just let the kids with sensory issues like autism and the like, and Down syndrome and the likes, they will let them to the International Night 30 minutes earlier than the rest of the audience. So I suggest if we do something like this during, or you consider something like this in the events, in the future events like Derby Days and Redmond Lights and stuff like that, we would, the families with special needs kids will feel like they are included. I'm speaking like that because I saw it and it just really worked. And thank you for bringing this conversation to the public, and I'm happy to be here. And even I feel like Redmond is like far ahead than the rest of other cities having this conversation and target and working to include the public and be in direct contact with the public. This is really great. Thank you for all of you, and thanks for all your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Susan Cozens.
Hi, I also really appreciate just the existence of this event, while sharing the frustrations about not actually being able to talk even to my fellow residents of Redmond in this format. But I'd just like to let you know one of the stereotypes that I've experienced as a relatively new resident of Redmond, and that is stereotypes about the people who live on Education Hill, who are all opposed to change in various forms. And I'm just repeating the stereotype here, who hate the ugly apartment buildings and who stand in the way of all the things that might happen in Redmond to actually make us a more socioeconomically diverse community. And so what I would really appreciate for our city to do is to provide some spaces for me as a downtown resident who would like to see change in the profile of our community, to talk to the folks from Education Hill, to have real dialogue. This is just our small version of a dialogue we need in the country as a whole, but we need this week. I would love to see us become a model for dialogue across the political spectrum in the U.S., and City Council could do a lot to help with that.
Thank you so much, Susan. We appreciate your comments. Sarah Marie, you are live.
Hi, thank you. I actually live in Education Hill. There's a lot of different folks up here with a lot of different opinions. Definitely not all monolithic up here either. So the thing that I would like to see the city maybe have as a goal is something that I actually talked about to Councilmember Khan when she was running for her election, which is looking at an option for helping or providing childcare for city government events. I really want to get involved more with the local Redmond politics and government, but I am a single mom and it's difficult for me to attend a city council meeting on a Tuesday night when I have a child who's not going to be able to sit through a meeting like that. So that would be something that I think would really help be inclusive, is providing that for people who can't do it financially or who don't have other physical places their kids can stay safely. That's it.
Thank you so much for your comments and participating. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council and share your experience, your story, your perspective, share insight? Anila, we're live.
Yes, thank you so much, Ms. Kelly-Rae, for facilitating this. My name is Anila Afzali. I'm the Executive Director of the American Muslim Empowerment Network at the Muslim Association of Puget Sound, or MAPS. It's the largest Islamic center in the state of Washington, and as you all know, it is based in Redmond and serves over 5,500 families across the Puget Sound. Thank you for this opportunity. I too wish that it was in person, or at least in the form of a conversation rather than just sort of this one-way commentary, especially as the one-way format is the one that's already used for city council meetings, and I think that's a shortcoming. So I would have wished this would be a little bit more of a dialogue rather than just a one-way conversation. In any case, I agree with the Eastside Change Coalition demands, and I was happy to see them represented in this conversation and sharing the demand document as well. And I definitely agree with what Debbie Lacy said earlier. Her comments were right on point, and I agree with that need for authentic conversations when it comes to race and equity, and also real action, not just surface level discussions or action at a surface level. Earlier this year, as you all know, there was a very broad, diverse, and large coalition that came together, raising concerns about safety and the well-being of Redmond residents and people who come to Redmond. And there are many people who spoke up from the community and shared their personal stories, including young people, youth, and students and parents. They shared really difficult stories and their fears and their concerns. And there was a resolution that was passed, as you know, and my questions for you are, number one, what specific concrete actions has the council taken since passing that resolution, which I believe was something like September 1st, that declared Redmond an anti-hate zone or a hate-free zone and condemned Islamophobia? I'd like to know what specific actions. And if nothing has been done, then again, it seems more of that surface level, just checklist item rather than any real action, especially when you consider that there was no announcement even made to the wider Redmond community that, hey, we now have this hate-free zone or a hate-free city. So that was disappointing to see. There was the Facts Over Fear campaign mentioned in that resolution, and the Facts Over Fear campaign did have a webinar series in the time since passage of that resolution. Did any of the council members participate? I don't think so, but I would like to know. I also want to specifically thank council members Varisha Khan, Jessica Forsyth, and Steve Fields for being such advocates for everybody in combating hate and Islamophobia. And I'd like to know what efforts each individual council member has made to educate themselves, not just, again, generally on diversity issues, but specifically anti-racism and Islamophobia, and also what efforts to reach out to the Muslim community specifically after what happened, because without addressing those issues, it's really hard to hold this kind of event and invite people to once again share their painful stories or directly impacted experiences if they're going to feel like they're not going to be heard again. So it's really.
I'm sorry, you're over time, but we can certainly recognize you to be able to speak again and give you more time, Anila. I wanted to make sure that I continued to open the floor to allow for other people to share a perspective, a story, an insight, or to elevate a concern. And, you know, again, I wanted to share that the city council and the city executive's office, the mayor's office, operate under the umbrella, under the guise of build nothing for them without them. Build nothing for them without them. And, you know, what that means effectively is that in order to build one Redmond that works for everyone, for the people who live and work and recreate and play in the city of Redmond, people that visit, that stay or are guests, but that pass through the municipality. The goal and the hope for this conversation really is that they would sit and hear and listen. You know, one of the things that is going to be happening at the end of this conversation is there is going to be a summary and a roll-up of all of the issues that you've elevated and concerned, and the council has as the option, and this is the thing that I continue to hear loud and clear in your commentary, is that you would appreciate a town hall, that you would appreciate an opportunity for us to create space so that they can address concerns. But, you know, for this conversation, they wanted to make sure that they had an opportunity to hear your voices before they deliberated to make decisions regarding budget. And because of public disclosure and public notice for meetings, they would not have been able to address you. And I know, and I can assure you that they wanted to be able to address you today, but because of public notice, there just wasn't enough time to be able to create this space and to have this meeting and to give proper notice that is required and that is mandated ahead of a conversation like this. So they can certainly entertain that idea in the future. And I can assure you, having organized this and coordinated and spending many days and hours with them in the lead up to this, they have a very strong desire to be able to address your questions and concerns, and you will get answers as a result of the roll up of this conversation. But again, I want to make sure that I give you this time to again raise your hand, elevate issues. I can bring you on live so that you can address the council. Now, if you've spoken, and Anila, we had to cut you off for time, but you can certainly raise your hand and jump in and grab another 2 minutes because there are no other hands up. But if there's somebody else that would like to be able to speak, elevate a concern, talk about your experience, things that the council should be doing, continue to do, or do differently. Anila, go ahead.
Okay, I'll just continue then. I don't know exactly where I got cut off, but I was just pointing out that it's really hard to ask community members to raise their painful stories once again if they didn't feel that they were really heard the first time. And I would also say that it's great or important for the council to reach out to community members and solicit ideas from them about ways to promote inclusion and belonging, because I think the community could probably provide some ideas and ways to do that. I also would want to know what actions the council has taken or will be taking to address general safety of all residents in Redmond, especially as we hear about growing concerns with things like armed militias and white supremacists and others like that. So I'd really want to know what actions are being taken there, since we want to make sure Redmond is safe and secure for everybody. And then also the budgets we know are moral documents. So I really would be curious about what investments specifically are going to Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities or organizations or efforts in our city, and what kind of equity analysis is being performed when we look at any issues, homelessness, housing, healthcare, whatever it might be, climate change, what kinds of specific equity analysis are we doing, and are there shortcomings with that? And on that point, I did want to give you all kudos for passing the Environmental Sustainability Action Plan. I remember that call that I think went like past midnight, and I was on it, and I know it was a lot of work, but I definitely appreciated you all passing that and listening especially to the voices of our youth who have constantly and continuously pushed on this issue. So I give them a lot of kudos as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that would like to raise their hand to be recognized to share? Siona?
Hi, my name is Siona. I'm also a member of the East Side Change Coalition, and I wrote a demand regarding the abolition of the SRO program at the Lake Washington School District. And many studies have shown that Black and Brown students, as well as students with disabilities, are disproportionately harmed by police forces at school, and they are more likely to come in contact with the criminal justice system. And this can also add to a lot of racial traumas already impacting students of color and their families. So I would like to see the district remove this program and actually take steps to prevent crime by implementing holistic community wellness and mental health services for their students. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Anyone else? Would anyone else like to be able to address the council to share your stories, your insights, your perspective? And if you've already spoken, if you'd like to speak again, please raise your hand if there's more that you would like to share, if you'd like additional time. Given what you've heard today, given what you've heard others have shared. If you have recommendations, and this is where it really matters. If there is something that you'd like the council to do differently, that you would like the council to do in order to communicate more effectively with you, to create that beloved community, the place that is, Dr. King is affectionately called that shining place on the hill. What does that mean, and what does that look like for the council to engage with you differently? Because, there's the way that the council has done business in the past, and that they currently do business. But, given the pandemic and given ways that we may have to shift and alter and change, how else would you suggest, what are some of those actionable things that you would like to suggest that the council does in order to communicate, to engage, to partner, to collaborate more effectively with the community? We've heard some things from folks, but what more can be done that they should consider? Because these are unprecedented times, and if we're trying to pivot to meet the community where they are, I would not love for or advocate for the city to create pathways to communicate without hearing from the community with regard to how that should look. We've heard about transportation, we've heard about single parents, we've heard about accessibility, and those are things to be considered. But what other ways might you suggest that the council engage and participate to meet the community where they are? Sarah, Marie?
Yeah, so Redmond actually has several game companies. I work for one, and there's also a couple others that I know of. So having something that could be a games night with the city council members on Zoom or on something else could definitely, be an option. That's bringing in some of the businesses in Redmond, council members, as well as the community. And games provide an opportunity for people to engage with each other in a kind of focused way, so that there's less pressure on, small talk or on that kind of stuff, but it helps people kind of build a sense of community and maybe feeling like the city council members are, part of the broader community as well, just to facilitate that accessibility of council members.
Thank you. Some of the things that folks might consider is, gathering with one or two council members together to have coffee or engage in virtual meetups. You can certainly do that. One of the concerns that is always front of mind and the front of our consideration right now is the health, well-being, and safety of you and the community. And it's tough right now to be able to find those avenues and those channels, to be creative and to think outside of the box, but to ensure that we're doing all that we can and practice due diligence in order to create space, but also ensure the public's safety and public trust, to make sure that council members are available to communicate with you, to hear from you. Not everyone, we know and we acknowledge on the front end that not everyone is going to email council@redmond.gov. Not everyone is going to show up when council is in session, or that they're going to be busy and life happens. But, the council is open to, as we go into 2021, what more could they and should they be doing in order to be able to hear what's important to you and to engage and partner? Tamara, you're live.
Hi there. I really didn't want to talk today because I don't live in Redmond. But I did want to support my sister orgs that are on the east side. So I'm a part of Anti-Racist Communities Bothell. We are a grassroots organization, and we are focusing on direct action and also lobbying of our city council. Specifically, we are trying to convince city council to hire a DEI person right now. And because I feel like there is a general sense of like, what is this going to do for us? Or what is this? We don't understand. This is like a buzzword. It doesn't really make sense to city council to include this in the budget. So we have done a lot of research, and we're currently preparing something similar to what Eastside Change Coalition has put together to convince City Council that it's a necessity. It's a necessity for everybody, not just the marginalized populations. Because, I mean, for instance, our City Council meetings are 4.5 hours long, and public comment is not until like 11:30 at night. How is that accessible to our community? Another thing, we feel like a DEI person can look through all policy and budget through a lens of equity in general. So for instance, in the budget for next year, we noticed that like some of the higher end play fields, sports fields, were getting, you know, $700,000 for improvements, but the grass play fields that are accessible to the lower income communities, we're not getting the same kind of budget increases. So I feel like and this is not my expertise, but I feel like a DEI person can view that and make recommendations based off of that. So in every area of the city government, and we're working so hard because we really feel so strongly that it's a crucial part for the future. I mean, we looked at some of the data that we had a diversity hire for the intern that basically pulled data for Apfel, and they came up with some really amazing numbers. And I'm sure we're going to see with the census that diversity has increased a lot since 10 years ago. Yeah. So we were really amazing. It was really amazing to see that the school districts specifically are like 43% in 43% people.
All right. I'm sorry I had to cut you off, but you can certainly raise your hand again and get more time. I know that there was a question regarding the council members that are present, and they are listed as panelists. And so right now you do have Council Vice President Anderson, Council President Pavia, you have Council Member Pritzker, Council Member Khan, Council Member Forsyth, and Council Member Fields. So those are the council members that are listening tonight that are on the conversation. Council Member Carson was on the line for much of this conversation, is having technical issues. So Council Member Carson was on the line, and we're hopeful that he gets back on the line if he's able to. But yes, all of the council members are here. They are present. They're listening and fully engaged in participating in the conversation to hear your insight and your perspectives and to hear the stories that you're sharing. So if there is anyone else that would like to speak to address the council, and again, if you've spoken already, please raise your hand and we can go back and give you additional time. But I wanted to make sure that we continued to create space. And we haven't been, hard and fast to cut everybody off firmly at 2. So we've had lots of folks that have gone over, certainly. But if you would like additional time to address the council, to speak, to share insight or perspective, please do so. Again, some of those things that the council can consider, and please share if you believe that this is something they might do. Creating additional opportunities to engage in two-way conversation, either with one council member hosting a listening session, but not just a listening session, but listening and speaking and dialoguing back and forth. Or if you'd like to have them in groups of 2, to have town halls. If you'd like for them to open up a council session and or some part of a session to engage in two-way dialogue, please share that perspective. But they can't build the solution and create the opportunity without hearing from you. So please share with them things that you think they may be able to consider to engage with the public, to meet where they are, to build the more inclusive community. You don't have to live in Redmond to offer a perspective or an insight. You don't have to work in Redmond to offer a position or insight. If you come in even for a day or for an hour or for some fleeting amount of time, visit the community of Redmond so that it is built for everyone to feel like they belong. We don't want for the city of Redmond and the municipality to feel like something that is a flyover that you have to go up and around and through, that you cannot come and enjoy and recreate. We want to make sure that you feel trusted, that you feel valued, that you feel heard, that you feel respected. And the only way that we build that for you is with you through your participation and collaboration. As a follow-up to this conversation, we are recording and capturing the perspectives that you share, the information that you're sharing in the chat. We're doing the survey. If you've not done the survey, please go to the survey that is in your in the early invitation. And if you haven't seen it, as a registrant to this conversation, you are going to get a questionnaire at the end of this conversation that will have those questions that are prompts that will allow you to share additional feedback. You'll get an email in the next 24 hours that will ask you to respond to those questions, and so the questionnaire and the survey. We're looking at demographic data. You probably, if you're here, you've seen the survey asking for demographic data. What we're trying to discern is, what does the diversity look like of the folks who come and participate in these conversations? So knowing demographically by race or ethnicity, by age, and whether you live or work or visit for recreation or other purposes in the city, we want to know who those people are that are participating in conversations like this, so that we can look at that data and if we feel that there are voices that are just not present, we want to think differently about how we might do a better job to do outreach and to engage and communicate to bring more people in. And so we want to make sure that people know that opportunities like this exist. We want to make sure that people feel that they can participate, and not just in conversations like you are today, but create other modalities so that people, we can meet people where they are, to give people different platforms to be able to share their perspectives or insights. And so let me open the floor and ask, is there anyone that wants to raise their hand to share some stories? You can share your own experiences, anecdotally share the experiences that maybe others have experienced that you want to make sure that the council is aware of. But what more can the council do? What should they focus on, especially as they consider budget when they move forward? What more could we or should we do? Is there anyone else that would like to share? Anna, you're live.
Yes, in terms of your point, Kelly-Rae, about who we're possibly not reaching or including in our discussions. Mm-hmm. I'm very grateful for this, but also as I go around town, I'm aware that there are a lot of people who don't have English as a native language, maybe don't have a sufficient level of proficiency in English. So I wonder what we can allocate budget-wise to supporting those needs, because it's such a crucial part of even beginning to get involved in our community life. It's a crucial access point, I think. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Is there anyone else? And you raise an excellent point in terms of accessibility. We want to make sure that people are able to access opportunities to engage with the council. We want to make sure that they understand that these opportunities exist and we meet the public where they are, because in order to build a community and make sure that we curate and continue to promote inclusion and belonging, we have to be able to offer relay closed caption. We have to be able to, for people who are blind or sight impaired or hearing impaired, people who don't have English as you said as their first language, that may not have the technology or tools to connect on a platform like tonight. What other opportunities exist to be able to engage with the council or to share insider perspectives? What does it look like to partner and to be in proper partnership or relation with the community, so that if there are navigator organizations that can collect feedback or insight and then share that information with the council? what should that look like, or what could that look like? Again, please raise your hand and let the council know. And again, if you've spoken already and you'd like to speak again, you are welcome to raise your hand and address the council again. So there's no such thing as too many times when there aren't a bunch of hands raised to address the council. So if you'd like to come online again and be able to share again, you are more than welcome to do so. We have this space until 5:30, so we've still got about 12 more minutes together. If there is anything else you'd like to share in terms of experience, perspective, issues that you'd like to elevate, things that you want the council to consider. Joy, you are live.
I guess just what comes to mind is for the council to consider we lure more businesses owned by Black, Indigenous, people of color, pop type of shops instead of, just having all the names, just to give our city more vibrant individuality. I'm hoping the council can consider looking into that to lure small business owners, especially business owners. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that would like to address the council to talk about housing, to talk about the expansion of business, management of business, partnerships, to think about, what else or what more we might be able to do and consider as we continue options to move forward and to create, to continue to curate a space that is for everyone, to build a Bothell that meets people where they are so that we are building a community forward together. One community, one Redmond. So what else can we consider? What more can we do? Is there anything else that you'd like to share? Any other perspective, any insight? Would you like to elevate a concern or make sure that before we leave tonight, that they know that what that thing is that you believe that they should understand or know or share? In terms of next steps, I will be looking at a transcript of today's conversation. I will also be leaning heavily into what you've shared in the chat box, as well as the survey that you got ahead of coming tonight, or being able to share what you've done as a follow-up. So just know that there will be a summary report of this conversation that is put forward in terms of recommendations from the community and issues that you've elevated. Janet, you are live.
Yes, I would just like to make a recommendation or a consideration that the city of Redmond would consider maybe revamping its community engagement process and program. And there's a couple of points there that I would call out. I think I would love to see more town halls or more forums where there is the opportunity for engagement, but across different communities. But I also want to emphasize that there is and will be a time and a need for communication with specific communities. Especially when you're a smaller marginalized community, it can be very hard to be heard if you're in a very diverse forum and your needs, you see replicated the same situation that occurs in the community, in that it's hard for your needs to be heard in that environment. So And to that end, I just would encourage the council to think about some innovative solution. We have commissions for a lot of programs, but do we have, and we have the Human Services Commission, which I'm on, but perhaps consider what are some of the innovative ways that we could maybe promote inclusion and promote conversations in our community and have the sponsorship of the council behind that. So that's some of my thoughts.
Thank you so much, Janet. Is there anyone else that would like to share? There's a lot of great commentary happening in the chat box from working on offering broadband, speeding up the process to implement it now, and helping the community who don't have access, that would be helpful. That is being shared. Thank you so much, Steve. Again, he's a Redmond resident for 18 years. He's sharing that these conversations don't always happen. He's hopeful that there will be more opportunities for conversation and dialogue moving forward. Appreciates the presence of a diversity, inclusion, and equity manager in the proposal budget. The council is speaking about addressing equity and decision making and doing those things looking forward. So lots of great feedback and commentary. The chat will be recorded and will be saved and shared. So yeah, we will be saving the chat, and the chat, because it's part of the conversation today, is going to be captured and shared. So there will be a transcript, Nala, from the chat that is in the chat box with all these great ideas, because there is no way that I'm going to miss an opportunity with all of these great ideas with links to websites, information, email addresses, that we would not capture that. So yes, the chat is going to be saved and captured. Will be included as a transcript in the summary of tonight's conversation. We got 6 more minutes together, and I want to. So let me stop right now and then just share them before we leave. For now, the last 5 minutes, that again, what will be happening in terms of next steps is that I will be saving and recording the chat. Of course, this conversation, this engagement, this community listening session is being recorded. It will be broadcast again and made available. Chip Cornwell is in the green room, and he is making sure that you are able to see this live on the different modalities, but he is recording as well as I to make sure that this full conversation is available, both now and in the future. The council will have all rights and access to this entire conversation. A summary report will be prepared. Demographic data will be captured from the surveys that have happened, as well as responses to those, at least those 4 key questions that we asked. Again, those questions were: what historic challenges related to race and ethnicity have existed in the Redmond community that have impacted your experience? What are the current critical issues impacting the racial and ethnic climate of Redmond? What could and or should be considered as the council begins to prioritize goals for the city of Redmond related to increasing our climate of inclusion and belonging? And finally, how would you like to be engaged in the future as the Redmond City Council considers ways to improve their relationship with all of the city? And so those responses for those questions have been captured as well, and all of that information will be made available. The survey is going to be open and available for quite some time, for at least several days after this conversation, and maybe longer. So that really will be, I guess, up to the council. But I want to make sure that at least for a couple of days after will be when I want to be able to capture all of that data information, because there will be a summary report and list of high-level recommendations that are coming from the feedback shared in this conversation that is going to be given to the council. And that is going to be a summary report that exists because of your feedback, your participation, and the insights that you share. So if you were quiet on the line today, don't worry about that. Just make sure that you take the opportunity before you finish tonight. So as soon as you click and log off, that survey with questionnaire is going to come up again, so you have an opportunity to participate. But then also you get an email as a follow-up that you'll have another opportunity. Let me go to James before we go, so that we have somebody else that can have a last word. James, you're live.
You're giving me the last word? I mean, I'd like to piggyback off of and amplify a comment that's in the chat right now about considering a regular monthly open orientation to how Redmond works and how decisions are made. The city of Bellevue has this Bellevue Essentials class that opens up to, unfortunately, a pretty small cohort of like 35, 36 people to educate people from the community on how city government works. That could be something, or something similar to it, that Redmond could invest in, is some way to bring community members in and just literally just educate on how civics works at the local level, because we don't have that in schools. We don't really have that, period, in our jurisdiction. So some way to reach out to communities and literally just say, look, this is who's responsible for what in city government. And not only will that make potentially more communities open to being able to engage, but also make it so that people who are already engaging might be more efficient at doing so, because they'll know where things need to go. So that would be my thought.
Thank you so much for your comment and your participation. And so as we wind down to the last seconds, I wanted to take this opportunity again as your facilitator, as your guide. And again, this conversation in this space was created as a result of the desire by the Redmond City Council to hear from you and to talk about, what more they should think about, how we elevate and raise critical issues that are of importance to you, to them, and to the city. And under this idea of build nothing for them without them, it's critically important for you to always have space to come to the table as co-equals and to be able to talk with the council, because they exist. They are of the people, by the people, for the people. Whether you live or work or play or recreate in the city of Redmond. And so it is in that spirit of inclusion and belonging, welcoming, to be trusted, heard, and valued, that we've created and curated the space for you. I want to thank you for your time, because you could have been doing a lot of other things this evening. I want to thank you for your participation, and again for your collaboration, because without you, these conversations and your participation would not be possible. So thank you so much. We appreciate your time, which is of treasure. And we are looking forward to engaging and hearing from you and partnering and working alongside you both now and in the future. Thank you so much.